Welcome to another fine edition of It's a Sports Show. I'm Scott Cray. Alongside me, as always, the rockin' Motley Crew man, Dolphin Paul. Maybe we should call you Motley Paul.
I like that intro.
That's good. It's got some, what's the correct term? Intestinal fortitude to it? It's got some intestinal fortitude.
You know what I think of when I hear that music?
Back when you were 13?
That was a long time ago. I don't know if they had music back then. No, if I was like a professional football player and I wanted to get myself psyched up for the game.
You play that?
Play that, put my chalk on.
Wait, why would? Oh, all right. I thought you were doing this.
No,
what was I doing here? You would put like a Hitler mustache on.
Now I think they use tape. I'd put that on, put my pads on, hit myself, and then after that song.
Urlacher's got the.
Yeah, well, hold on, I'm not done. Just don't interrupt me because I'm intense here.
You're getting pumped up.
After I get my stuff on and I put my shoulder pads on, and I might just put my helmet on, then go over to your locker and just bam!
Why would you come to my locker?
Well, because we know each other. Well,
gotcha.
Get ready, let's go.
So we're teammates now.
Yeah, we'd run out of that thing, hit the door, and go.
See, I'd be in a seance.
Oh, were you?
With little like smoky.
Oh, you're like the sensitive.
I gotta relax. I'm not sensitive.
I'd be.
That's my wife. She'll tell you I'm definitely not well, maybe a little sensitive.
A little Metro though.
Metro. That's
you know.
Geo Metro.
We hear
Doesn't Geo make a Metro?
See, a Cable 9. See how you got the nice jacket with the Douglas, and they'll appreciate that we just plugged them. You got the little tag going on there. Well, we went to go get some dress shirts to have our Cable 9 logos put on.
Yeah.
So, if we need to wear a shirt and tie that day, it would look good. Well, of course, I go, and I don't know where the heck the rest of the crew went. Frenchie and the rest of them went somewhere in La La Land, and I picked out 5 or 6 dress shirts. And I was, I don't want to get like polyester only because I don't want to sweat in this. Do you know where I'm going with this?
No.
Well, apparently I'm the only one because they walked over, Jen Quinn included, our staffer here, and had no clue of what, because I was feeling material. So
in other words, you were the lead tailor.
Wow. I wasn't doing any tailoring. I was making sure that it was comfortable threads.
I'm a large. I don't know. I mean, I haven't got mine yet.
See, when you do it, dress shirts, you gotta have.
Is it coming in the mail or something?
No, you're not getting one.
I'm not getting one.
Forget it, because you know what? And they're not either. I'm gonna cancel the rest of their order.
I'll just go to TJ. Well, I shouldn't say because we're not supposed to plug in, but I'll just go to a designer store and find something with a hole in it at a marked down price, and I'll wear it here.
That does the trick. Well, it's different. You see, when you're paying for it, as opposed to the company. You know what I mean? Hey, while we're on a tangent and not talking about sports at all, I want to mention YouTube because we're on worldwide, and the new one has come. We had some problems the last couple of weeks. We're converting our computers.
I have a few people who depend on YouTube. I was telling you before the show. That's an important facet of our operation.
We're coming back on.
I got a couple of friends. They want to see that YouTube. And
we'll be back on, sure enough, this week. And speaking of YouTube, my wife... So we can't talk about bikini-clad women on this show
Now, where's
anymore.
this going? No.
My wife at work, and I'm not going to mention where she works, because she knows, and I don't want to get her in trouble. Her and her clan of friends.
I'm glad she knows where she works. That's the start.
I don't need to say where she works, because she knows.
No, we know that. Absolutely.
I know.
Absolutely.
You don't know, but that's okay.
I don't need to know.
I don't need her bosses to know.
Absolutely.
Only the know needs to be in the know.
That's right.
Apparently, their thing now that I'm gathering is that at times, they completely shut down operations of their
I think her boss is calling now.
The phone's ringing. I'm going to say their section, because I don't want to give away where she works. They shut down operations, huddle around the computer, and watch us.
Wow. Female?
Yeah, all females. How do you like that?
Wait a minute. Why didn't you tell me that?
Get a nice close-up, French. You want to make sure this guy looks good.
I'm getting a little worried, French.
They are watching you right now as we speak. Anything you want to say to the girls?
Hi, girls.
My wife Paula and Jen and Katie. Say something.
Your wife Paula?
Yeah, my wife Paula.
My wife's name is Paula.
Is it a coincidence?
Wow.
Wait, we don't have the same wife, do we?
My wife's Paula, but girls, I'm a flirter. I'm really in trouble now.
You're in so much trouble.
I'm in big time trouble.
I'm just going to say hi, and I'll leave it at that.
Hi, girls. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate it.
Now, we can't talk about bikini. Now, I don't know if they're into sports, so they can only be...
Who cares?
Why would they be watching?
They're good-looking women.
It's got to be for us.
It's
got to be for us. Got to love it.
I mean,
I want to reminisce for a second, because we haven't done so yet on this show, and talk about...
We just changed our name to, it's a Hollywood
monologue
Access,
show.
Yeah, a monologue show.
This right here, my friend, is my bracket. You see that blue? That blue is V for victory. I have all Final Four teams going in. Look at my bracket and tell me how much of a genius I am.
Listen, this is all I can say about your bracket.
How do you like that?
I bow down to your bracket.
Frenchie has something to say. I'm sure it's...
Did you feel the brackets for polyester?
I love his bracket.
I'm not going to hear the end of this
No,
about this
listen,
polyester stuff.
listen. You got all. You know, Euclid was a good call in
Right.
retrospect.
And that's who I have
I
going
had
all the way.
Euclid in Kansas, and I thought my friend I told you before, Matt from North Kingstown, loves Texas because Rick Barnes used to coach in Providence.
Right.
Anyway, I picked Kansas. They're from the Big 12, the same as Texas. So immediately when Kansas lost, I called them up and said, I shouldn't have known better than to put all my bracket stakes into a team from the Big 12.
All your eggs in one
Soft.
basket. Did you have Texas going all the way now?
No, I had Texas losing, but I had Kansas who plays in the
Kansas.
same conference.
You had Kansas going
Yes,
all the way.
going all the way.
Winning it all.
So busted for me.
Now, your Final Four, do you have anybody left at all, even though you're busted completely?
Oh, well, hold on there.
Because I have a four.
Hold on there, Dick Vitale, because you got four. Do you have anybody left at all? Yeah, I do.
Jen has nobody.
Well,
Jen's completely busted.
Justin Timberlake
This
was
is what happens to Jen. Goodbye, Jen. You are officially done.
I have Georgetown.
Georgetown make you feel that way?
Georgetown.
Yep.
Which we have to talk about a little bit.
Okay.
I had A&M, which lost to Memphis,
Yep.
who we talked about last week, and I had Kansas beating UCLA. UCLA came up big against Kansas. I did have Florida beating Whiskey. Whiskey, of course, was eliminated earlier. So I got Florida, Kansas, G-Town, and A&M. But I had Kansas winning the whole thing.
Right.
Now that's up in the air.
Who did you have beating Kansas? Florida?
No, Kansas was it. Kansas was the champion.
I mean,
had
who
Kansas
did you have
beating
Kansas
Georgetown.
beating? Right. Okay, so you have the chance still for at least one team to make it to the
I
final.
do.
game.
In Georgetown, I'll tell you, I had them pegged pretty good. Not that that means anything, but what a
Right.
game. Did you see that game against North Carolina? I caught the end of it.
Yep.
Georgetown looked like...
I saw the highlights.
Georgetown looked like they were going to lose. Ibbert, Hibbert, Hibbert, whatever they
Whatever
call it.
nationality he is.
What a great move at the end to tie the game, and then it was all Georgetown in OT.
Yep.
Georgetown, I mean, came out of that bracket. That's pretty good. I mean, I had them picked, but, I mean, North Carolina had them on the ropes. It didn't look like it was going to
It was like that Xavier game where, Georgetown, like you said, the moves it made at the end of the game
Yep.
took the wind out of the sails, and that's it. That was it for the
Now,
rest of the way.
UCLA came in kind of quiet.
Yeah.
Florida is a team who I like, and I probably should have put I didn't want to, I just thought it'd be too much for them to win 2 in a row, but everybody came back on that team.
Right.
That's always a dangerous formula in college, any type of athletics, when you get the mature guys, and there's a big difference between 18-year-old and 22.
Absolutely.
The maturity, especially being in tough situations on the basketball court. So Florida now is going to be my team that I'm going to ride. Billy Donovan, what a great story.
Yeah.
So if they could win 2 in a row, it hasn't been done like in 15 years. And Florida against UCLA, I mean, excellent matchups. And Georgetown against Ohio State. Ohio State, Greg Oden,
Isn't this a
that
treat
sealed the
to
deal for
see
me.
this?
I want
Right.
the Celtics to get
Right.
Greg Oden.
It's a treat for Celtic Nation to watch this. Of course, there's some other crappy teams in the NBA that are looking as well. But just to be able to see this guy highlighted, the more they win, the better he
the
seems to
Celtics
get.
are almost assured of at least the second worst record, which in the past has bode well.
It gives them a
I don't
better
know if
chance.
Boded is a word. It gives them a good chance with the ping pong balls to take. Oden is a game changer. He's not as flashy as Durant, but you know what? That guy, you put him in the middle of the Celtics, bam, that changes a lot of things. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's not just another guy who can score. I mean, you put him there, that's just cementing it. That's an anchor. And, keep our fingers crossed for that, because this will make or break Danny Ainge.
Right, because if they can't do it with an elite player, keep in mind, though, I said this last week, they still have to get him. You know what I mean? There's still like a 1 in 3 shot. It's like a 34%
it's
shot.
not a lock. And,
I don't want Celtic
Rivers
Nation
yesterday-
to think that this is a guarantee that you're going to get the Don
no,
guy.
absolutely not. And Doc Rivers made
An interesting
a couple
statement.
statements about Celtics if they remain the same.
He just to follow up on exactly what you're saying. Doc Gooden said, Doc Gooden, hey, I think I was watching Pros versus Joes, and
Okay.
and Dwight Gooden was on there, which made me think, Anyway, the Celtic Doc Rivers, thank you, said I think it was in a paper the other day that if this team remained status quo and didn't pick up anybody new and stayed just as they are now, they would be making the playoffs next year. He pretty much guaranteed it. That's kind of out of nowhere in a way, because why they haven't do you think they've shown vast improvement this year?
No.
Not at all.
No, I think certainly Al Jefferson has stepped up and become the player we kind of thought he was. Keep in mind, he's very young. Gerald Green has shown flashes of being a tremendous player. Then they got some other surrounding cast. Of course, they got Paul Pierce, and Rajon Rondo has played well. But you know what?
As a team,
plugging Odin there would just bam. I mean, that would make everybody else so much better. And again, it's a long shot. Other interesting thing about Georgetown and Ohio State is it matches up two big guys. You know, if you really think about that, when's the last time you've seen, you know, like Ewan against Olajuwon, just as an example? You know, I don't know if they hooked up in college, but, you know, I mean, this is two
big guys
men
going
in the middle
against each other. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Ibert, whatever the heck his name is, and Odin, and for Celtics fans, it'll surely be interesting. But this kind of takes us back to not David Robinson, Frenchie, but Tim Duncan. I mean, getting this piece of the puzzle, I think, would go a long way to save Ainge's job, and certainly Doc Rivers' job, because without vast improvement, and I think Odin certainly would be the guy.
Well, we talked a lot about Odin. Who's the guy that could be basically the second pick? It's kind of a 1-2 punch.
Well,
there.
Durant from Texas, who's a young freshman,
are
fantastic player. You never know. I mean, he could turn out to be the next, I dare say, Michael Jordan, but, you know, a terrific NBA player. He should be at least terrific, but
so it's not Odin and Odin only.
Odin and Durant, but the problem is Odin is the big guy. He's not going to score 20. He's going to block some shots. He's going to stand there in the middle. He's going to get rebounds. I just think he's a guy who kind of changes the game, because if you bring Durant in, certainly you're going to watch the Durant, but he's very young. You know, you can't come in and expect a 19-year-old kid to be the savior of the franchise. Odin is probably physically almost ready to play in the NBA. You know, he's
got
big
the
and
build.
strong. He looks like he's 42.
And he's probably not stopped growing still at that point.
So, I mean, from this point, I know there's been a lot of debate, but I think most people who have their senses at this point would agree that Odin would be the guy for the Celtics, and it'd be
for the sake of Paul Pierce, I'd like to see the Celtics pick him up too. Paul Pierce deserves to win.
Oh, there's no doubt.
He deserves to be on a winning team, and the way he's been so sportsmanlike on this Celtics team during losing.
I would agree with you. And like I said, you put Odin there, now Pierce is on. You know, he's not the one guy. I mean, now they got to, you know, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which the Celtics need help. You know, you got Pierce, and then you can mix in Green and Al Jefferson and Odin in there. I'll tell you what, I would really be excited for the first time in a long time.
I have to ask you this. With Odin, if someone like Odin were to come in on this team and kind of almost be a staple, get right into the game right away on this Celtics team, who would be negatively affected most on playing time, I guess? Because you mentioned your two big guys.
I'm not sure how that would affect Al Jefferson. I don't know if
the
Al
question
Jefferson
mark.
could go to a power forward or not.
Because right now Jefferson is the Celtics' big guy, correct?
Yep.
And so Jefferson, like as you just said, Jefferson has developed into someone that we were hoping for.
I'm not sure how they'd work him in. I mean, I don't have enough basketball savvy, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I guess they could use both big guys.
Right.
I mean, Odin would be, I guess, the center.
Yeah.
Maybe Jefferson, although they really don't have the body to go to a power forward. I mean, have him and Pierce, Jefferson, Odin, and then maybe Rajon Rondo or Delonte West, and then have Gerald Green in there. But now you got Gerald Green, you know, your young kid still developing his skill. Jefferson, Paul Pierce, and Odin in the middle. You know what? Well,
it also
a bit of a change.
Throws up a little bit of a question mark too, with Jefferson developing into a pretty decent player. Does this offer the Celtics a chance to try to trade Jefferson for a position player that might fit in spread things out a little better? Who knows?
I don't know. That's a possibility. I mean, if they could get something real good for Jefferson, like maybe a fantastic point guard.
But if they do that and Odin turns out to not be so hot in his first year adapting to
Let's
the
not
NBA.
forget one thing, too. I'm real excited, and I'm showing it, but Odin is still very young.
Yes.
So
Still has to develop his game.
He still has to develop, and he's still going to take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to be. I shouldn't even say at the top of his game, because sometimes it takes 6 or 7, but I just think physically he can stand there and just intimidate on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, it's your buddy Scott Cordisci that said earlier this week, too, that it's sort of a 4-year rule. You get into the league, you make a decent contract. In 4 years, that's when you're an elite player, if you're bound to be an elite player, and that's when you cash in on the big paycheck and develop your skills.
That's a good point, but, I mean, it's going to be interesting for Celtics fans for the first time in a long time, looking at those ping pong balls to see,
it matters.
The number one pick would immediately take all the attention away from baseball, from the NFL, which would probably start not too much longer after the NBA draft. Right away, it'd be like, oh, Celtics, the number one pick, blah blah
Something
blah.
good in Boston.
It'd be a lot of talk. Absolutely, I think it'd be a whole other story. Number 2 is still interesting.
Right.
And Durant
still
certainly
an
wouldn't be
improvement.
a bad number 2. I mean, Durant's a heck of a player. And it'll certainly make things exciting, but from a functionality point, as far as putting the pieces together on the basketball team, I think Odin's the way to go.
And then there's that fairly high percentage, which is, who knows, maybe around 40% or so, that they either end up with neither. And then you've got a bust of a Celtics season.
Don't even say that.
And those first 2 ping pong balls go to somebody else.
Again, I mean, I'm not, we haven't looked at the NBA draft or who's out there or who's coming out. Or I'm sure there's a good player at 3. But, there's this and then there's this.
There's a drop from 1 to 2, let alone
a good player
from
versus franchise is a big difference. So,
all right, so Georgetown, Ohio State, back to the brackets.
Okay, so
should be a low-scoring game because you got 2 big guys up the middle, correct?
Yep, good.
You would think so?
Defensive struggle. By the time we do the show again, it'll be all over.
Done.
So we'll have to.
And UCLA, according to my sheet, will have been the champion.
So you're obviously not going to change your selection. Obviously not.
No. Why do I need to?
I'm trying to get you to say this so you'll be wrong.
No, UCLA.
Okay, so I have to.
You heard me say it here. UCLA will go all the way. This is coming from. Maybe I'm psychic.
I had Georgetown and Kansas, so I'm going to stick with Georgetown. And, in the battle of the big guys, I think Ohio State will fall.
Yep.
Even though we talked about Odin. And I got to jump on my beloved state of Florida. Baby, the Gators will repeat.
So now you're going for the Gators repeat.
Repeat.
So if we did a show, right, in between, that's...
Oh, sorry, that's the Gators.
I question your stability sometimes.
You're not the only one.
If we did a show in between the Final Four and the championship game, you could squeak out a different...
Absolutely.
All right,
absolutely.
Good. You sure you don't want a backup plan?
You know what? Let me just go back. Even though I'm very unstable, I'm like an idiot savant, I pick up on things. That's a very good line. I question your stability. Very good.
Maybe we could sort of solo that line.
I could see you in court. Mr. Cray, what do you think of that, Dolphin Paul?
Well,
I question his stability. That'd be, wow.
They'd be running tape. They wouldn't have to ask me.
They'd cut right to the commercial. That'd be like a Clifford. I question his stability. Right to commercial. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What is this, a soap opera?
I'm all fired up today. I don't know why.
Doing soap operas? Hey, let's talk about
the draft, the NFL draft.
No. Because, ding! That NFL draft has not happened yet. I want to talk about your Boston Red Sox. Because as of right now, it is Wednesday evening. We are shooting. There are only a few games left. Monday begins real baseball for the Boston Red Sox. And I couldn't be more excited. Who do you got there? You got a nice big picture in the Pro, Joe.
Javi Lopez.
If only it could be someone a little better. Not the catcher, Javi Lopez, formerly of Baltimore, that batted 198.
No,
the Red Sox.
I'm just gonna say I'm kind of looking forward to the season because
Do you look forward to it for like the first 2 weeks and then you get drowned out?
I think it's a long season. Okay,
yes,
so
everybody that watches this show knows
Grapefruit
that.
League is nice. Blah 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 blah.
See, this to me is long. This Grapefruit League.
Well, Grapefruit's long. Well,
Takes forever.
That's because you want to get the season going. So
right.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can talk about something real when the games start.
Finally.
Number one, and even though it'll be a long season from then until you know me, I really get into it as the season progresses because early, I mean, there's a lot of games. In all honesty, I know some baseball hardcore junkies who watch every single game every inning. There's a lot of games, okay? So
that's a lot of time on your hands when you're able to do that.
Right. Well, I like to see the thing shake out, but it's nice to get to actual games. Let's see Matsuzaka pitch a whole game.
Right.
Papelbon.
See Kurt Schilling.
We
see
didn't talk
Papelbon.
about this the last time.
Well, that's what I want to talk about first. The big
Fire
move that
away.
was made after our last show was the Red Sox announced Jonathan Papelbon, everybody knows it now, has been announced as the closer of the Boston Red Sox. And it's a combination of things. The Red Sox not having any unluck with the Pineros of the world to try to have them step up as the closer. And Papelbon has said, hey, I need this. I need to be a starter. It's what I'm destined to do.
Closer, you mean?
Closer, rather. It's what I'm destined to do. So they've made the move. There's a lot of mixed reaction. This didn't come without some give and take because now they've taken essentially who could have been a good 4 or 5 starter out of the rotation. To fill that void, they've announced that Julian Tavares would fit in that 4 or 5 hole in the starting rotation, who didn't do too bad at the end of last year. I certainly enjoyed his enthusiasm, but can he pull off that kind of skill again? Who knows? What's your thoughts on the whole matter?
Oh, my thoughts is it's great. I mean, we talked about this before, and I said, at the time I said, I'm glad the Red Sox explained that it was a medical issue.
Right.
Because the guy's a dominant closer, at least in his first year. We don't know what he's going to get as a starter. Would he be pretty good? Probably would be pretty good, but you know what? I said, well, if it's a medical thing, fine. I never understood the fact. I understand, I guess you can't be a closer for, say, 15 years.
Right.
Because you're around, but I don't know. I mean, he's a young guy, and I just think the difference between starting pitching and closing is, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but I just think it's minute.
You're thinking it's less strenuous to be a closer.
Right, or I don't think it's that big enough of a difference. I mean, the guy didn't go through Tommy John surgery or anything like that. And
he had a dislocated arm, though.
Well,
I mean,
this
that's
is the
a
way
pretty
I
big
look
deal
at it.
for a pitcher.
This is the way I look at it, if I can kind of show the camera. These were the starters.
There's your apples.
No, as far as the scale.
Yep.
And these were the closers.
Right.
So you'll we're heavily loaded
Are
with
you going
starters.
with quantity, though? Because quality, I'm not so impressed by this starting rotation.
Well, there's questions, and we'll get to that. The scale was up here.
Yep.
Up here, we were waffling with, closer by committee. Now, I think you're kind of balanced to where you still have the questions with the starting staff, but you still got to, Matsuzaka, let me say this, makes a big difference.
Absolutely.
You still got some decent starters or potential to be a very good staff, but now you got the big closer on the back end.
Right.
I just think that makes a world of difference because Papelbon and Schilling can pitch in the same game now. Papelbon and Matsuzaka can pitch in the same game now. Whereas before, you could have all these great starts
Right.
and not finish with your relieve it with the bullpen.
I mean, it depends if you look at your glass half empty, half full. Because what you just said was you can have all these great starts, but if you got a crappy bullpen, they're going to blow it anyway. But at the same token, it's the starts that go 5, 6, 7 innings compared to 1. So if you don't have the good starts, what good is a closer? He's not even going to enter the game if they're behind at that
it's not
point.
like he's your ace.
Papelbon, if he were a
It's
starter.
not like Papelbon is your ace. It's not like you're taking Kurt Schilling and saying, listen. So, I kind of disagree with you a little bit because, he would make the starting rotation much better. And throw him in as one of the questions.
Papelbon.
Papelbon as a starter.
Right. Yeah, because we don't know.
We don't know. I know
Right.
I know he can close. And we've talked about this before.
Right.
I know he can close.
I guess what's disconcerting is that the Red Sox spent disconcerting, ding, word of the day.
You are on your game today much
early.
better than last week.
Yes.
Stability, disconcerting. Wow.
I guess
all that pressure with your wife and her friends watching,
I got to talk normal
Are you trying to
language
show me
now.
up?
Oh, no, I wouldn't even try.
that's not very hard to do, by the way.
The Red Sox spent painstaking time convincing us that Papelbon was better off as a starter. It was better on his shoulder. It was better health-wise. It was better somehow for the Red Sox. And now it's like they're reneging on the whole deal. They've convinced me that Papelbon was going to extend his career and be healthier as a starter. Now they're putting him in as a closer. I know Papelbon had the final say on this, by the way. It wasn't the Red Sox. But it's like, so now what? Is he going to break down again?
I agree with you that this whole thing is kind of odd, that they went and they got...
Spent all that PR time to convince
Medically
us.
speaking, they said he was better, and, I guess, like I said, I kind of agree with it. Okay, you're not pitching every day.
Right.
You're not pounding it in
There's
there
a regime
every day.
to the whole
Right.
process.
Every 5 days you can rest your shoulder, whatever. And now all of a sudden, they pull a Rhode Island stunt and found a doctor to say, "Oh, this is okay."
It's okay. Yeah.
I just think I think you can manage it, not baby it, mind you. Manage it.
You can't baby it because
I don't think
Pepper
Bun has to come in when they're up 3 runs. I think, like in save situations, again, I mean, this doesn't have to be a thing where, I don't want him to think that way at all. Be aggressive, but just be smart. If they're up by 3, 4, 5 runs or whatever, you got the bottom of the lineup coming up. I just don't think you need to put Papelbon, give him a ton of innings. Last year you could say, yeah, go ahead, finish the game. That's
it was reckless abandon at that point because we didn't realize what kind of pressure was being put on him.
I think they can manage him somewhat.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. I mean, don't make the guy go crazy. Find some good middle relief, and if he fares well up to the All-Star break, hey, second highest payroll in baseball, baby. Go get yourself another starter.
How do you like them apples? Well, the flip side to this we talked about was Julian Tavares getting into that starting rotation now. He's going to be the 4-5 guy somewhere around Wakefield. And he showed some great enthusiasm last September. And I was reading, I think it was actually Donaldson.
I show great enthusiasm on a show. Doesn't mean I'm any good at it.
Doesn't make a difference, exactly.
4 minutes.
And Donaldson pointed out last Sunday, I believe it was, I think it was him, the track record has been that September performances do not bode well, I guess, for the next year. In other words, he didn't win a game. I think he only went like 2-0 in 5 starts, but his ERA was sub-4. And so that's some pretty darn good pitching, especially in the 4 or 5 spot. The question is that what he's going to do this year at the start of April? I mean,
look at Craig Hansen. You don't have to look no further. Not that he pitched great last year, but this year, this spring has been a total mess for him.
Yes.
So, no, that doesn't necessarily.
They put Hansen back to single A. That's
absolutely.
what I just heard, right?
That doesn't necessarily correlate to when you're pitching well last year. But here's my point with Tavares. I'm not a big fan of him either. He's a 4 or 5.
Yeah.
4 or 5.
Well, that's where he is.
How many teams are going to have a great 4 or 5?
Right.
So my point is, Schillen, Matsuzaka, Beckett, Wakefield. We know what we're going to get with Wakefield. Get those guys to pitch well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to make a big deal because we have Tavares instead of Papelbon as a 4th or 5th starter. Would I rather have
Tavares managed to pitch like he did last September, now you're talking like a number 3 starter at that
4
point.
or 5 starter.
Take it as it is.
Give the Red Sox some innings.
How do you feel about Wakefield? Because you mentioned Wakefield a little.
I mean, he's old, but he's
throws a knuckleball. How hard is it?
Yeah, Wakefield is going to give you some good innings. Just like that exhibition game the other day as we're taping on Tuesday.
Yeah.
He gave up a couple of early runs. You're going to expect that. Wakefield's never going to go out there and
shut him down.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's not going to be a lot of like 1 or 2 hit games, but there could be 6, 7, 8, 9 hit games, and then maybe in the middle of the inning of the game, he'll go 2, 3 solid innings.
2
Right.
minutes.
Wakefield will give you also a lot of innings, a lot of pitches.
It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I like Wakefield. He's been a good soldier for the Sox. I think he's decent as far as balls go.
Right.
He's got his catcher there. That's not a problem. I mean, I think the first 3 guys obviously are key. And now with the bullpen, I mean, if it's only 1-0, 2-0, 3-2, 3-1, 1-run game.
You're in good shape for
2-run
that
game,
closer.
You should be in good shape with Papelbon. Like I
You
said,
got Timlin in middle relief.
that was a huge. I look at it this way.
I know how you feel about Timlin.
Timlin, listen, you just turned what, 56? Now, like I said, now there was humongous question regarding the closer, right?
Right.
Was there not? Now that question's kind
been taken
of
care
eased.
of.
We'll talk as the season goes on about him being medically. And Jim Donaldson, you spoke of Jim Donaldson, has a pretty good article today in the Projo. Will Red Sox be guilty of over-managing Papelbon? Right. That's a possibility. It's a good question, actually. So we'll
see what happens.
But you know what? How much better are you going to feel when it's a 9th inning and the Red Sox are up 3-2 and you've got Papelbon instead of a hodgepodge of guys?
Coming out. I understand. I agree, too. I want to end the show on one quick small note, something good about the New York Yankees, if you consider it good. Corey Lytle's widow will be throwing out the first pitch, so, that kind of happened towards the end of last year. And I think it kind of quickly got forgotten about, so it's a nice...
She's not flying in, is she? That was bad, wasn't it?
YouTube.com, YOUTUBE.
I got one more thing.
Watch to the end if you want to hear that.
The Red Sox...
Keyword IASS,
The Yankees are all going to wear caps with little propellers on top.
Have a good day, everybody. I have nothing else to say now.
I had to get that in.